Well, two of wrestling's most outspoken, bullheaded, strong-willed, aggressive, shot-taking, dick-headed people in professional wrestling, CM Punk and Eric Bischoff, collided on Twitter this week, and it was fantastic. Of course, wrestling beefs and Twitter, it's been going on since the beginning of Twitter, right? Talking shit. And even before then, the shoot interviews. And wrestlers love to talk shit. And especially Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff has never shied away. That's his shtick. That's how he keeps his show relevant. Talking shit. And talking shit he has been doing for weeks and months on top of months about AEW. Ever since Tony Khan compared his company to WCW or something to that effect, it fucking crawled up Eric Bischoff's ass and just rubbed him the wrong way ever since. And he's been taking his little shots. And it's not constructive criticism. Some of it is. It could be taken that way. But the fact that Eric keeps doing it and keeps pushing it, and he does get abrasive with it, and he does throw his attitude and his opinion into it. So he is taking shots. And this week was no different, as on his podcast, 83 Weeks, Eric Bischoff had a lot to say about AEW and the way that they are not growing their audience and how he feels that they should be trying to appeal to a more mainstream audience. Check out this clip.
I would say that AEW probably has an 80% lock on the dirt sheet wrestling. I can call it dirt sheet as a rib, but on the internet wrestling audience. Those people who are the most active in social media and on the internet are probably 75 or 80% of them are probably really, really big AEW fans. And that's the market, in my opinion. It's not a criticism. It's an observation. In my opinion, that is the market that AEW is targeting and catering and reacting to.
But the idea that the way to grow this audience is to not cater to them is a little troublesome, because to me, if you're a hardcore football fan, man, I want more football. I don't think it's a bad play. I understand you're thinking that maybe it's too niche, but I do think there's a difference between what Tony is presenting versus what Paul Heyman presented in the late 90s.
But if you that hardcore and catering and reacting to, whereas WWE is catering to and building a broader audience, not just that hardcore wrestling fan dream match,
but at the same time,
high-flying spectacle kind of an audience.
WWE ain't building shit. Their ratings are going down.
Yeah, so Bischoff never short on words, especially on his podcast. And look, this man literally wrote the book on Controversy Creates Cash, right? Literally wrote the book on it. So part of this is shtick for Eric Bischoff. This is what he does. This is how he gets views and ratings and attention and stays relevant. And I'm not even knocking that. And even if, a lot of it is his true opinions as well, he's playing it up for the audience. He knows he's stirring the pot on purpose. He knows that he's doing it. They're probably his real opinions, but he's playing it up, right? And it gets him attention. It gets him Twitter attention. But this time, it got him the attention of one CM Punk, who, as many of you know, is also never short of opinions and abrasive opinions at that. CM Punk did respond in kind of a blanket statement, not directly to Eric Bischoff. He didn't at Eric Bischoff, but we knew what he was talking about. Punk says, "Wrestling Twitter needs to stop amplifying all the old head, bad faith, bad take, carny dipshits. They had their moment in the sun. Let them die in the dark with their ego podcasts." Quote me. Wow. All right. I mean, strong words from Punk. Booker T actually took exception to that on his podcast.
Look, for people who don't know, again, Eric Bischoff has been critical recently about AEW, and he had a podcast with Conrad.
I wouldn't call it critical. I wouldn't call it critical. He's made comments. He's had
critiquing the show.
He's had constructive criticisms.
Okay,
but I wouldn't call it critical. You know what I mean, or anything like that.
That's fine,
and that's fine. But for CM Punk to come back on him the way he did, and then not just come back on him, that was a blanket statement.
Yeah.
That wasn't just at Eric Bischoff. That was a blanket statement. And me personally, I'm about calling people out to their face. I'm about saying something. If somebody got something to say to me, say it in my face, or say it directly to me. Direct that quote to me. And we'll talk about it when we see each other. Or I'm always down for a celebrity fight or anything like that. No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious right now.
He had to throw his 2 cents in. Booker T has also been one who has been critical of AEW, not as abrasively as Eric Bischoff has, and critical of Punk. He's famously the only person on planet Earth that had a bad thing to say about Punk's return. Who was like, yeah, I wasn't really feeling it. He could have did better. It was almost as if he didn't watch it because he thought it was all about WWE. You know, he got the dirt sheet Cliff's Notes on it or something like that. But, you know, he threw in his 2 cents and he was willing to fight. He's willing to fight CM Punk. You know, he's like, we could take it to the streets. I can protect myself. I don't know about all that, Booker. I think, you know, you're an old man. Just relax your crack a little bit. You're trying to fight CM Punk now about a beef between Eric Bischoff and him. So slow your roll. But Twitter blows up. Shit gets crazy. Bischoff fired back, by the way. Bischoff had more to say. Of course, he's not going to bite his tongue. And he was direct. He didn't at Punk, but he mentioned him. Let's take a look at what this is. Let's look at what Punk has delivered since debuting at AEW. August Rampage, 1.1 million viewers. Now, lucky to hit 500,000. Dynamite, 1.17 million. Now, lucky to break 900,000. Pretty lame for a guy who thinks he's a bigger deal than Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Randy Savage. Of course, that was another statement that had rubbed Bischoff the wrong way on Punk. Bischoff gets really offended easy. So does Punk. So does a lot of people. I probably do too. You probably do too. But Bischoff, you know, he takes this shit personally. You know, he got mad at, he's got a hair up his ass about Tony Khan because Tony Khan dared compare AEW to WCW. He's got a hair up his ass about CM Punk because CM Punk dared say that him and Bryan Danielson in AEW was a bigger deal than Kevin Nash and Scott Hall going to WCW, which, you know, Bischoff's got a point there. In hindsight, it's not. It's really not. In fact, the numbers are down. So he's got a point there, as much as I hate to say it, because I do think Punk and Danielson were significantly huge acquisitions for AEW. But Bischoff's got a point there. And, of course, the dumb fucks on Twitter also had to throw in their 2 cents. Some chucklehead tweeted, added Eric Bischoff with a picture of Punk's beat-up face and was ribbing on him for his UFC fights as well. So let's all just pile on CM Punk now, right? Because Bischoff's taking shots at him. So let's go in Bischoff's comments and inflate Bischoff's ego a little bit more by taking more shots at Punk. But Bischoff continued. He convinced himself since he could win scripted fights, he could win a real one. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So, look, this is the wrestling business, and people will talk shit. And now that we live in the world of social media and Twitter and podcasts and YouTube videos, it's easy for everybody to throw in their 2 cents, much as I am now, and easy for everybody to take their shots. Fuck Eric Bischoff. See how easy that was? You know, in full disclosure, I'm one of the hugest CM Punk marks. So I'll throw that out there, but it's not lost on me that Bischoff's right. You know, the numbers don't lie. Ratings have not gone up since Punk has debuted in AEW. So is it that he's not the draw that they thought he was? Well, let's slow the roll a little bit, because there's also, AEW has consistently outdrawn, other than like WWE's random stadium shows like a WrestleMania, and I think they got SummerSlam coming up in a stadium. They got one over in England. So they do their little stadium shows and shit. But just on the week to week, AEW is outselling tickets for their live events compared to WWE. So, and WWE's ratings have dropped too. So it's wrestling as an industry. It's not like WWE's ratings are going up. They're higher than AEW's, but it's not like WWE is this hot product, or it's growing, or it's even holding its fan base. Ratings for everything across the board on TV in general continue to go down. And that's why I've always said that this is somewhat much to do about nothing. The ratings, quote unquote. Eric Bischoff, that's one of his big things, is he loves to bring up, AEW's ratings like it's fucking 1999. Well, check it out. Ratings aren't as big of a deal as they were. I mean, they are. Networks, aren't going to keep a show around that's just not drawing, or doesn't have enough viewers to attract advertisers. But there's YouTube, and there's streaming, and there's there's pirate services where you can just download the shit, and there's ways. We live in it. There's YouTube, like all the highlights, like you can go catch all the important things that happened on Rampage just by going to AEW's fucking Facebook page or their YouTube page, and all those clips are right there. All this significant information. So people consume content differently, and people just don't. Most people, people cut the cords fucking 10 years ago at this point, and it continues to happen. Every day, more and more people are not watching cable. And that's why both WWE and AEW are going to get significantly higher contracts when their TV deals come up. I know everybody's like, oh, the ratings are down. They're, and they're getting bought out by Discovery. I did a whole video, by the way, on the Discovery Warner Media merger. I highly recommend you watch that and listen to that clip, because I school you. I fucking educate you. And I'll tell you what, it's a different opinion than a lot of the other people out there are saying. And it's an educated opinion, because I follow this shit. Not just the wrestling, but I'm a huge fucking nerd in media and just streaming media. And like, I'm into that shit. So when these companies merge and they're launching their streaming platforms, this shit gets my dick hard, right? I'm all about it. So I know a thing or two about it, and it's much to do about nothing. Both WWE and AEW are going to get big, fat, giant raises, because TV is a dying thing. People just don't watch TV. They especially don't watch it live. Everything's on their own time now. But because they are sports-like in that a lot of people still want to watch live to see what happens live, because anything could happen. And it's live, and it's a new episode every week, and it's relatively cheap to produce. They're going to continue to throw fucking money at this to keep eyeballs on their TV, because it's not AEW that's dying. It's not WWE that's dying. It's TV that's dying. And that's reflected in the ways that these guys are getting record ticket sales and sellouts and that kind of thing. It's a hot product. It's just not hot on TV. And, I don't know what else can be done about that. But just kind of wrap this shit up here. Punk, Bischoff, always fun to see what either one of these guys have to say, because they're so outspoken. And it will be fun to see if they continue to butt heads online. I'm sure by the time I am recording this, I may have already missed a tweet or a reply or a rebuttal. But that's where we're at right now. And it's fun to watch. It's wrestling, right? Beefs. That's what we're here for. We're here for the drama. The drama for your motherfucking mama.